Well, I just came out to my shed to do some stuff, and I found about 10 of those little, those little tiny sugar ants. I don't know what they're actually called, but that's what I call them. So I guess spring is officially here, which is fantastic because I was sick of the cold weather, but now it looks like we're going to be having an ant infestation if I don't nip this in the bud. They didn't really find a whole lot. They probably found a little of the light malt extract powder that may have spilled out while I was doing my petri dishes. I do have sugar here, but I have it in a sealed container, so they weren't trying to get into this. But I figured before it gets too bad, before I get a whole bunch of them in my shed out here, I don't want them in my petri dishes, dude, or I don't want them all over my mushroom stuff. So I figured I would mix up a small batch of basically ant bait poison for them to hopefully take back to the nest and eradicate the nest. I don't really like killing off insects like that, but I do not want them out here, man. So the recipe that we're going to be using for this is incredibly, incredibly simple. It's just sugar and boric acid or roach kill. The nice thing about boric acid is you get this at the store as roach killer, but it works really good for ants as well. And boric acid is fairly benign as far as toxicity goes. So boric acid isn't really all that toxic. And it's toxic to ants, but it's not so toxic to them to the point where they're going to come in, eat the bait we're going to make up, and then die right then and there. The nice thing about the bait setup we're going to be doing here is they will come in, eat some of the bait that we have, they'll take that back to the nest, and then they'll feed that to the queen, they'll feed that to the larvae and the pupae, and it completely eradicates the whole nest. Like I said, this is a really, really, really easy and simple formula. It's not even a formula, it's a recipe. The only thing we need to do is mix approximately equal parts of white sugar, good, with boric acid. And yeah, we're just going to eyeball about equal parts. So, what's that, about a centimeter? Yeah. You do want to make sure that you do have enough boric acid, because you don't want to have the boric acid content be so low that all you're really doing is feeding the ants the sugar. You want to make sure that every time they do eat some of the sugar, that they get a nice little dose of the boric acid to take with them. I think that's pretty good. That's close enough for me. Close enough for this little video. This isn't really a how-to. This is just something that I do whenever I have problems with ants. And generally, this will take care of an ant colony for the rest of the year that you're having problems with. All you want to do, incorporate these and mix them up as good as you can. That looks pretty good. It's fairly homogenized, so it's fine. Now that we have our sugar and boric acid mixture, all you got to do is add a little bit of water. Just add it gradually to make, I like to make like a pretty thick paste. Some people will make almost like a simple syrup, but I like to just make a thick paste that you can spread on stuff. Alrighty, that's pretty good actually. I like this consistency. It's runny enough to where you can pour it into something if you need, but it's also thick enough to where whenever you put it down, it won't just kind of stretch out and lay out in a really, really thin film. It'll put a nice, relatively thick deposit on there. That's literally all you have to do up to this point. Just mix those together. So the bait is now ready to go. Now the next thing that you have to do is put this bait into something to contain it and hide it and just make it enticing for the ants to go into. And I've noticed that ants like to go into little teeny tiny dark crevices and stuff, I'm sure you've noticed the same. And because of that, I'm going to use this old chalk box to put the bait in, close it up. That way it'll be a nice dark enclosure. That way they feel safe. They feel like, oh man, we scored. And then I'll just cut a little slot in here to the side. I'll probably tape it with this tape just in case the solution does try to go through the cardboard a little bit, and then just put it in the spot where I saw the stupid little ants. So give me a second. Alrighty, there we go. Not the best tape job, nor the best cut job I've ever done, but who cares? This is a quick bait trap that we're putting together to kill off some ants. So, doesn't matter. Now all we gotta do is pour this boric acid in sugar solution into this box. And like I said, we're using this box because it will give the ants kind of a safe feeling space for them to go into, and they'll find, the little scouts that the colony sends out to scope out potential meal sites will come in here and they'll find this huge stash of what they just think is pure sugar, and they'll take some of it with them, tell their other ant friends, like, hey dude, there's like a lot of food there that we can go get. Let's send out a whole bunch of us to go get it. And they'll send more and more and more until eventually enough of the boric acid in the poison is brought back to the colony and it kills off the colony. Once again, I kind of feel bad doing that, but I do not want ants in here at all. Another reason why we kind of want to put it in something like this rather than just like put it on a flat piece of cardboard is boric acid is not really toxic, but this isn't really something that you want like your pets getting into or your kids getting into. You know, it's not deadly, but this is also a way to contain it in such a way to where the only things that really get to it are the insects that we're trying to eliminate. And this also works just as well for roaches as well. I don't have roaches here, but if you do have a roach problem or you're starting to see some roaches in your house, you can do the same thing, maybe with a little bit of savory things, like maybe a little bit of cheese whip. What would you call that? What consistency would you call that? And well, we're not gonna comment on that because no, I'm just gonna pour it in here. There. Yeah, there's a good amount in the bottom there. And once we lay it down flat, it'll spread out a little bit, but it's not going to, it shouldn't flow out. It should kind of reach an equilibrium and stay there. And basically this is ready. All we got to do, they were actually over on this workbench here with my yogurt maker that I was just about ready to start doing a video with. Maybe they smelled some, who knows, maybe I dropped some like sugar on here or some yogurt on here last time I made yogurt for my yogurt video. I don't know, dude. But they were over on this workbench right here, and I'm fairly certain that they're getting in down under this area right here. All 10 of them were over in this area. So instead of taking up space on my workbench, I'm going to put this out of the way. Oh, I forgot I had these cold packs under here. Look at that. I found some cold packs that I can use. Cool. I'm just going to put this right here by my computer. Kind of in the corner, out of the way. That way, any ants that want a free meal, they can come in and they can get their free meal, but they're going to pay for it later. It's completely passive. It doesn't outright kill the ants, so it's not like you're going to have a bunch of ants accumulated in there, which is nice. And the nice thing about the boric acid is, since boric acid is a really good preservative, put that there. Since the boric acid is a really good preservative, it's not going to mold up or do anything like that. So you could just leave that there until you remember again, basically. And you're not going to worry about it like getting moldy or anything like that. And that should at least put a nice big dent in your ant problem if you're starting to have them. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.